Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, a flaw to be hidden from the world at all costs. Society teaches men from a young age to toughen up, to suppress emotions, and to never let anyone see their struggles. But the truth is, this avoidance only strengthens the grip of fear and negative feelings. What most men fail to realize is that vulnerability is not the enemy, it's the path to freedom. It's the doorway to authenticity, courage, and profound inner strength. Yet, admitting this to oneself is perhaps the hardest truth to face. The instinct to avoid vulnerability stems from a primal need to protect oneself. The fear of judgment, rejection, or failure often overshadows the potential rewards of being open and honest about one's feelings. For many, showing vulnerability feels like giving others a weapon to hurt them. But think about this, the most courageous acts in life, the ones that truly shape who we are, require us to step into the unknown, to risk failure, and to expose our deepest fears. Whether it's starting a business, pursuing a passion, or even opening your heart to someone you love, these moments demand vulnerability. Without it, there can be no growth. Many men mistake vulnerability for weakness because they associate it with losing control. The truth, however, is quite the opposite. To be vulnerable is to have the courage to face life's uncertainties head-on without a mask or shield. It's about standing in the middle of your fear and choosing to move forward anyway. This is not weakness, it's the very definition of strength. Avoiding vulnerability might provide a temporary sense of safety, but it comes at the cost of stagnation and emotional disconnection. It builds walls, not bridges. And while those walls might protect you from pain, they also keep out joy, love, and fulfillment. Embracing vulnerability starts with self-awareness. You have to look within and ask yourself, what am I truly afraid of? What is holding me back? These questions can be uncomfortable because they force you to confront parts of yourself that you'd rather ignore. Maybe it's the fear of not being good enough, the fear of failure, or the fear of being abandoned. Whatever it is, naming your fear is the first step to disarming it. When you can identify and acknowledge your vulnerabilities, they lose their power over you. This journey isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be. It requires patience and persistence. For some, the first step might be as simple as admitting that they don't have all the answers. For others, it might mean seeking help, whether from a trusted friend, a mentor, or even a professional. There's no shame in asking for guidance. In fact, it's one of the bravest things you can do. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you open the door to meaningful connections and experiences. You show others and yourself that you are human, that you are willing to grow and evolve. It's also important to remember that vulnerability doesn't mean oversharing or exposing yourself indiscriminately. It's not about seeking pity or validation from others. True vulnerability comes from a place of strength and self-respect. It's about being honest with yourself and with others, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about standing in your truth, no matter how it's perceived by the world. When you approach vulnerability with intention and self-awareness, it becomes a tool for empowerment rather than a source of fear. One of the most liberating aspects of embracing vulnerability is the realization that you are not alone in your struggles. Every man faces challenges, insecurities, and doubts. Yet so many suffer in silence because they believe they have to bear the weight of the world on their shoulders. When you have the courage to open up, you often find that others are more understanding and supportive than you expected. Your vulnerability can inspire others to confront their own fears and break free from their own walls. In this way, it becomes a ripple effect, creating a culture of authenticity and mutual support. There is also immense power in reframing vulnerability as a source of strength. Consider this: when you admit your fears, you take away their ability to control you. When you share your struggles, you create space for healing and growth. When you face your pain head-on, you prove to yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances. These are not acts of weakness, they are acts of courage. They require you to step outside your comfort zone, to risk discomfort and uncertainty for the sake of something greater. The world often rewards those who appear invincible, but it's the ones who embrace their humanity who find true peace and fulfillment. Being vulnerable doesn't mean you have to expose every part of yourself to everyone you meet. It simply means being honest about who you are, especially with yourself. It means allowing yourself to feel deeply, to experience the full spectrum of life's emotions, rather than numbing or avoiding them. It means recognizing that your worth is not tied to your ability to appear flawless, but to your willingness to show up as you are, imperfections and all. Self-awareness is a transformative power, yet it is one of the most overlooked aspects of personal growth. Many people drift through life on autopilot, reacting to circumstances rather than understanding their internal landscape. Self-awareness requires courage and effort, because it involves peeling back the layers of who you think you are to uncover the truth of who you really are. For most men, this is an uncomfortable process, because it forces them to confront aspects of themselves they may have buried or ignored for years. But without self-awareness, you remain a stranger to yourself, unable to fully grasp why you feel the way you do or make the choices you make. The journey to self-awareness begins with observation. It's about taking a step back from the noise of daily life and paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. This is not easy because the mind is often restless, jumping from one thought to another. You might notice patterns of self-doubt, bursts of anger, or moments of fear that seem to come out of nowhere. At first, these observations might feel overwhelming. But the key is to remain curious rather than critical. Ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Where does this emotion come from? The answers might not come immediately, but the act of questioning begins to open doors that have long been closed. One of the biggest barriers to self-awareness is the fear of what you might discover. It's not uncommon to find that some of your behaviors are rooted in insecurity or past trauma. You might realize that you've been seeking validation from others, or that your anger often masks feelings of inadequacy. These realizations can be painful, but they are also liberating. When you identify the root cause of your negative feelings, you begin to reclaim power over them. They no longer control you from the shadows because you've brought them into the light. Self-awareness also involves examining your values and beliefs. Many people adopt beliefs without questioning where they came from or whether they truly align with who they are. These beliefs might come from family, society, or past experiences, and they often shape how you see yourself in the world. For example, you might hold a belief that success is only measured by financial wealth, leading you to feel like a failure despite other achievements. By questioning these beliefs, you create space to redefine what success and fulfillment mean to you personally. This process allows you to live a life that feels authentic rather than one dictated by external expectations. Another critical aspect of self-awareness is recognizing how you react to challenges and triggers. Pay attention to the situations that cause you stress or discomfort. Do you withdraw when faced with conflict? Do you lash out when someone criticizes you? These reactions are clues that point to unresolved issues or unmet needs. Instead of blaming others or the situation, self-awareness encourages you to look inward. What is the story you're telling yourself in these moments? Are you assuming the worst or replaying a past wound? By identifying these patterns, you gain the ability to choose a different response rather than falling into the same negative cycles. Developing self-awareness is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing practice. Life will continually challenge you, revealing new layers of yourself that you may not have noticed before. This is why reflection is such a valuable tool. Taking time each day to sit with your thoughts and emotions can provide insights that would otherwise go unnoticed. Journaling, meditation, or even a quiet walk can help you process your experiences and gain a deeper understanding of yourself. These moments of reflection are like checkpoints, helping you stay aligned with your values and goals. Self-awareness also requires honesty. It's easy to make excuses for your behavior or blame others for your circumstances, but these habits only keep you stuck. Being honest with yourself means acknowledging your role in your struggles and taking responsibility for your growth. This doesn't mean beating yourself up for past mistakes, it means learning from them. Every setback and failure contains a lesson if you're willing to look for it. This willingness to learn is what separates those who grow from those who remain stagnant. A key part of self-awareness is understanding the impact of your thoughts. Your mind is constantly creating stories, and these stories shape how you experience life. If you tell yourself that you're not good enough, you'll start to see evidence of that belief everywhere. On the other hand, if you believe in your ability to overcome challenges, you'll approach life with greater confidence and resilience. Becoming aware of these thought patterns allows you to challenge and change them. It's not about ignoring negative thoughts, but about questioning their validity and choosing more empowering beliefs. Self-awareness also deepens your relationships with others. When you understand your own emotions and triggers, you become. Ultimately, self-awareness is about knowing yourself so intimately that you can navigate life with clarity and purpose. It's about being in tune with your inner world so that external circumstances don't dictate your sense of peace and self-worth. It's not an easy path, but it's a rewarding one. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. From a young age, most people are conditioned to fear failure, to see it as something shameful, as a reflection of inadequacy or weakness. This fear creates a deep resistance to taking risks, trying new things, or stepping out of comfort zones. Yet failure, when understood correctly, is not an end, it's a beginning. It's a teacher, a guide, and one of the most powerful tools for personal growth. Redefining failure is essential to overcoming negative feelings, because so much of that negativity stems from the shame and regret we associate with our perceived shortcomings. To redefine failure, the first step is to shift the way you view it. Failure is not proof of inadequacy, it's evidence that you are trying, that you are engaging with life, and that you are pushing beyond what is safe and familiar. No one who has ever achieved greatness did so without facing failure. It is woven into the fabric of every success story, from the entrepreneur who went bankrupt before building a multi-million-dollar company to the athlete who lost countless games before mastering their craft. Failure is a sign that you are in the arena, that you are daring to pursue your goals rather than sitting on the sidelines waiting for life to happen to you. However, this understanding doesn't come naturally to most people because failure often triggers intense emotions, shame, embarrassment, frustration, and sometimes even despair. These emotions can cloud your perspective, making it difficult to see the lessons and opportunities that failure provides. When you fail, it's easy to internalize the experience, to believe that the failure defines who you are. But failure is an event, not a reflection of your worth. The challenge lies in separating your identity from the outcome. You are not your mistakes, and your value is not diminished by your setbacks. This distinction is crucial for cultivating resilience and self-compassion. One of the most powerful aspects of failure is its ability to reveal hidden truths about yourself and your path. It forces you to confront your assumptions, refine your strategies, and reconsider your priorities. For instance, a failed relationship might teach you about your communication habits or your emotional needs. A failed business venture might highlight areas where you need to develop new skills or seek better guidance. These insights are invaluable because they provide clarity that success often does not. When everything goes smoothly, there's little incentive to analyze or improve. But failure demands reflection. It pushes you to ask questions you might not have considered otherwise. Another important aspect of redefining failure is understanding that it's not a permanent state. Just because you failed at something doesn't mean you will continue to fail. In fact, every failure brings you one step closer to success, as long as you're willing to learn from it. This idea is best illustrated through the stories of countless innovators and visionaries who faced repeated failures before achieving their goals. Thomas Edison famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His perspective highlights the importance of persistence and the belief that failure is simply part of the process. To navigate failure effectively, it's important to focus on the lessons it offers rather than dwelling on the disappointment. This requires a mindset shift, one where you view failure as feedback rather than a verdict. When something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What could I do differently next time? These questions transform failure from a source of pain into a source of growth. They allow you to approach future challenges with greater wisdom and confidence, rather than fear and hesitation. Redefining failure also involves challenging the unrealistic expectations that often lead to it. Many people set themselves up for failure by striving for perfection, believing that anything less than flawless execution is unacceptable. This mindset not only increases the likelihood of failure, but also amplifies the negative emotions associated with it. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Understand that mistakes are an inevitable part of learning and that every misstep brings you closer to mastery. By embracing imperfection, you free yourself from the paralyzing fear of failure and open yourself to new possibilities. It's also important to recognize the role of societal pressure in shaping your perception of failure. The world often celebrates success while ignoring the struggles and setbacks that preceded it. Social media, in particular, paints a distorted picture of reality, showcasing highlight reels rather than the full story. This can make your own failures feel more isolating and discouraging. But remember, every success you see is built on a foundation of failures, struggles, and hard work that often go unseen. By keeping this perspective in mind, you can remind yourself that failure is not a sign of inadequacy, but a universal part of the human experience. Failure also has the power to build character in ways that success cannot. It teaches humility, resilience, and patience. It forces you to confront your limitations while also challenging you to exceed them. Each time you fail and get back up, you become stronger, more resourceful, and more determined. These qualities are not only essential for achieving your goals, but also for navigating life's inevitable ups and downs. Failure shapes you into someone who can handle adversity with grace and courage, someone who doesn't give up at the first sign of difficulty. Finally, redefining failure means learning to let go of the need for external validation. Often, the fear of failure is rooted in a fear of judgment. What will others think if I don't succeed? This fear can be crippling, preventing you from taking risks or pursuing your dreams. But the truth is, other people's opinions have no bearing on your worth or your potential. The only validation that matters is your own. When you stop seeking approval from others and start focusing on your own growth and fulfillment, failure loses its power to intimidate you. It becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Facing pain is one of the most difficult yet transformative experiences a person can endure. Pain, whether physical, emotional, or psychological, often feels like an unwelcome intruder, something to be avoided or suppressed at all costs. Many spend their lives running from pain, distracting themselves with work, entertainment, or shallow connections, hoping to outrun the discomfort. But pain, like a persistent shadow, follows. The truth is, the more you resist pain, the more power it has over you. Facing it, however, is not about surrendering to suffering, but about acknowledging its presence and allowing it to teach you. Pain, though harsh, is a profound teacher. When you confront pain head-on, you begin to understand its layers. At first, pain might seem overwhelming, like a storm that threatens to engulf you. But as you sit with it, as you allow yourself to feel it fully, you start to notice its subtleties. Emotional pain, for instance, often carries messages about unmet needs, unresolved wounds, or misaligned choices. It might be telling you that you've been neglecting your boundaries, that you're holding on to something you need to release, or that you're yearning for a change you've been too afraid to pursue. These insights are not accessible when you're running from pain. They only emerge when you have the courage to sit still and listen. Facing pain also requires you to confront your vulnerabilities, which is why so many avoid it. To feel pain is to acknowledge that you are human, that you are not invincible, and that life will sometimes hurt. This can be a humbling realization, especially for those who have built their identity around strength and self-reliance. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is a gateway to deeper connections, greater empathy, and authentic living. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable with your pain, you open the door to healing. You give yourself permission to grieve, to release, and ultimately to grow. Another important aspect of facing pain is understanding that it is temporary. Pain often feels eternal in the moment, as if it will never end. But like waves in the ocean, pain rises and falls. It comes in cycles, each one eventually receding. This doesn't mean that pain is insignificant or easy to bear, but it does mean that it is not a permanent state. When you remind yourself of this, you cultivate resilience. You learn to endure the discomfort, knowing that it will pass, and you emerge stronger on the other side. One of the greatest challenges in facing pain is resisting the urge to numb it. Society offers countless ways to escape discomfort: alcohol, drugs, endless scrolling on social media, binge watching television. These coping mechanisms might provide temporary relief, but they do not address the root of the pain. In fact, they often prolong it by delaying the necessary work of healing. When you face pain directly, without numbing or avoiding it, you allow it to move through you. It becomes a process, a journey rather than a stagnant weight you carry indefinitely. Pain also has the unique ability to deepen your perspective. It strips away the superficial, forcing you to confront what truly matters. In moments of deep pain, you gain clarity about your values, your priorities, and your purpose. You might realize that the things you once thought were important, status, possessions, or approval, pale in comparison to the intangible qualities of love, connection, and inner peace. Pain has a way of sharpening your focus, helping you see life with greater depth and meaning. Another key to facing pain is finding a balance between acknowledging it and not allowing it to consume you. It's important to feel your emotions fully, to cry, to grieve, to express anger or sadness. But there's a difference between processing pain and becoming trapped in it. The latter happens when you start to identify with your pain, when it becomes the lens through which you see yourself and the world. To face pain is not to let it define you, but to let it inform you. It's about learning from the experience without letting it dictate your future. Support is often an overlooked but vital part of facing pain. Many people try to shoulder their struggles alone. Letting go of control is one of the most profound challenges a person can face. Control is often seen as a form of power, a way to navigate the uncertainties of life and ensure favorable outcomes. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that the more control we have, the safer we are. This belief permeates every aspect of life: relationships, careers, health, and even our own emotions. Yet the need for control often becomes a source of tension, anxiety, and frustration. The paradox is that the harder you try to control everything, the more you realize how little control you truly have. Letting go is not about giving up or resigning yourself to fate. It is about recognizing where your influence ends and where trust begins. Control is rooted in fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of loss. When you cling to control, you are essentially trying to shield yourself from these fears. But life is inherently unpredictable, and no amount of planning or effort can eliminate uncertainty. The need for control creates a rigid mindset, one that resists change and views challenges as threats rather than opportunities. Letting go of control requires acknowledging that uncertainty is a natural part of life. It means shifting your focus from trying to control every outcome to trusting in your ability to adapt and respond to whatever comes your way. One of the most liberating realizations is that you are not responsible for everything and everyone. Many people carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, believing that they must manage every detail to ensure success or happiness. This burden is not only exhausting but also unrealistic. Letting go of control means releasing the idea that you must have all the answers or solutions. It means recognizing that other people have their own paths, their own lessons to learn, and their own choices to make. By relinquishing the need to control others, you create space for authentic relationships built on mutual respect and trust. Letting go of control also involves embracing vulnerability. Control gives the illusion of safety, a sense that you can shield yourself from pain or disappointment. But in reality, life's most. Trusting the process is one of the hardest lessons to embrace, yet it is essential for personal growth and inner peace. Life often feels like a series of uncertain steps where the outcomes we desire are hidden beyond a fog of doubt, delay, or struggle. This uncertainty can create a sense of restlessness, as if we must constantly rush toward results, fearing that time is slipping away or that we are falling behind. But the truth is, the most meaningful transformations do not happen overnight. They require patience, faith, and a willingness to accept that everything unfolds in its own time and in its own way. When you trust the process, you acknowledge that life operates in rhythms and cycles, much like the natural world. A tree does not grow to its full height in a single season, and the tides do not rush to meet the shore all at once. Similarly, your journey is not meant to be a sprint toward an immediate outcome. There will be times of rapid progress, and there will be periods of stillness, where growth is happening beneath the surface, unseen and unmeasured. Trusting the process means surrendering to these natural rhythms, allowing yourself to flow with the seasons of your life, rather than forcing or resisting them. One of the biggest barriers to trusting the process is the need for immediate results. Society often glorifies quick success, leading you to believe that if you do not see progress right away, you are failing. This mindset creates unnecessary pressure and frustration, making it difficult to stay committed to your path. But true progress is often subtle and gradual, accumulating through small, consistent efforts over time. Trusting the process means understanding that each step, no matter how small, contributes to the bigger picture. It is about focusing on the journey itself rather than obsessing over the destination. Another challenge in trusting the process is dealing with setbacks and detours. When things do not go as planned, it is easy to feel discouraged or question whether you are on the right path. But setbacks are not signs of failure, they are opportunities for learning and redirection. Sometimes what feels like a delay is actually a necessary pause, allowing you to gather strength, gain clarity, or develop the skills needed for the next stage of your journey. Trusting the process means viewing these moments not as obstacles, but as integral parts of your growth. Letting go of control is a key component of trusting the process. Often, the desire to control every detail stems from a lack of trust in the unknown. You may feel compelled to micromanage your life, believing that if you can just plan enough, work hard enough, or anticipate every possible outcome, you can guarantee success. But control is an illusion. Life is too complex, too dynamic to be contained within rigid plans or expectations. Trusting the process means letting go of the need to know everything in advance. It is about finding peace in uncertainty, knowing that the path will reveal itself step by step. Faith is at the heart of trusting the process. This faith does not have to be tied to any specific belief system. It can simply be a deep inner knowing that life has its own wisdom, that there is a purpose to the twists and turns you encounter. Faith allows you to keep going even when the road ahead seems unclear. It gives you the strength to persevere through challenges, to stay open to possibilities, and to believe in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. Without faith, it is easy to become consumed by doubt, to second-guess your choices, or to give up when progress feels slow. Trusting the process also involves cultivating patience. Patience is not just about waiting, it is about waiting with grace and acceptance. It is about releasing the urgency to rush forward and instead allowing yourself to be fully present in each moment. When you trust the process, you begin to see the value in where you are right now, even if it is not where you ultimately want to be. You understand that every experience, every challenge is preparing you for what lies ahead. Patience allows you to embrace the journey, to find meaning and joy in the unfolding of your life. Another aspect of trusting the process is letting go of comparison. It is natural to look at others and wonder why their path seems smoother, faster, or more successful than your own. But comparison is a distraction from your unique journey. Everyone's path is different, shaped by their own lessons, timing, and purpose. Trusting the process means focusing on your own growth, without being swayed by the progress or opinions of others. It is about honoring your individuality and trusting that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. Finally, trusting the process requires self-compassion. It is easy to be hard on yourself when things do not go as planned or when progress feels slow. You may criticize yourself for not being where you think you should be or for making mistakes along the way. But growth is not linear, and it is not without its stumbles. Trusting the process means giving yourself grace, acknowledging your efforts, and celebrating your progress, no matter how small. It means treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend on a similar journey.